Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to Grow Through Gita 34th weekly session. So, today we are going to talk about a very relevant and useful topic, and that is all about forgiveness. So, I'm sure there have been plenty of instances in our life where either we are seeking forgiveness from others because we committed some mistake, or somebody else has offended us, and in return, we are contemplating whether we should forgive others or if we have to hold on to the grudge. So we'll talk about both these aspects and so many other things as well. So without further ado, let me give a quick shout out to all you wonderful devotees who are already here. Even before the class began, I saw that many of you had already logged in and saying Hare Krishna. Thrilled to see that kind of eagerness and enthusiasm to listen to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So Tirumalai Kumaran sir is here, Chetan Prabhu is here, Ramtej Hariji, Shailaja Mataji, Lata Mataji, Asha ji. Asha ji, your commitment is so commendable that she has a severe migraine headache, but in spite of that, she was there in the Srimad Bhagavatam session this morning, and here she is already right at the beginning of the class to attend the Grow Through Gita session. So my hats off to you. That's really inspiring, Ashaji. Very, very nice. Keep it going. Sri Vidya Mataji is here, Yogita Mataji, Abhirami Mataji who has just logged in, and also Saraswati Mataji. Dandavat pranams to you too. So Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, welcome everyone. Very, very excited about our class today. So let's go ahead and chant our invocation prayers. So I'm going to quickly change my screen in a way where you can see my PowerPoint presentation. So that way you can also chant the prayers along with me. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. 3 times, dear devotees, let us loudly chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, all of us together. So please join me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let us offer our humble obeisances and express our deep, sincere, heartfelt gratitude unto the lotus feet of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, my most beloved spiritual master and the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON for short. So as always, today's session, that is the 34th Grow Through Gita session, talking about a very relevant and useful subject matter, and that's about forgiveness, which is being dedicated. It's a humble offering unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All right, so today's topic is all about forgiveness. Let me adjust my screen in a way that you can see both the PPT and myself. There we go. And meanwhile, I see that Leelavati ji is here. Hare Krishna. Sukruti Krishna Prabhu and Shubhaprada Devi Mata ji, welcome to the class. Hare Krishna. Satyamurthy sir, pranamagalu to you too. Happy to have you. Sandesh, Hare Krishna, and Sharada Mata ji, Hare Krishna to you as well. So, welcome everyone. Very, very happy and excited about today's class. So, we are here to discuss about forgiveness, a very, very important topic, highly beneficial. So the objective for today's class, we have a 3-point agenda. So the very first part that we are going to try and address is, why should we forgive? If somebody has wronged us, if there is an offense that is committed, why can't we just hold on to it? Instead, why should we forgive? And in this context of discussing why we should forgive, we will also talk about who sets the highest example of forgiveness. Who is the embodiment of forgiveness? So by discussing this, first of all, let's derive some inspiration to forgive. Get on this journey of forgiveness. And then part 2, we will talk about, in case we have wronged somebody, we have stumbled, we have made some mistakes, we have slipped, and we need to seek forgiveness. What is a practical model to go about seeking forgiveness? And then let's switch gears 180 degrees aside, and then part 3, we will talk about, in case somebody else has committed some mistakes and they have offended us, then how do we offer forgiveness to them? So 2 sides of the coin of the forgiveness. On one side, us seeking forgiveness in case we are the ones who committed something wrong, and the other side of the coin, is to offer forgiveness in case others have offended us. Okay, so very clear cut and straightforward agenda, but we have a whole lot to cover. So let's go get into it, straight into the topic. All right, so part one, what is forgiveness? First of all, let's understand that, wrap our head around what exactly is forgiveness and what is not forgiveness. And then we will talk about, in a very elaborate way, about this greatest personality who sets the highest example of forgiveness. So if we were to stop randomly some people and ask them, what is forgiveness according to you? I'm sure each and every one of them will explain it slightly differently. So forgiveness may mean different things to different people, but generally, however, it involves a decision. And what is that decision? A decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of revenge. So this is a very key attribute about forgiveness. It is a decision to let go of resentment, where we have this negative feeling towards someone, and also thoughts of revenge, the thoughts of wanting to get back at somebody or having this, vengeful attitude and tit for tat mentality, to let go thoughts of revenge and not have that kind of a mindset of getting back at somebody. And let's try and understand this a little bit more. So forgiveness means to keep small things small so that we can focus on the big things of our life. Because if we do not get on this journey of forgiving others, it could really hold us down and it could suck out a lot of energy out of us. So it means to keep small things small and let go. So that way we can, preserve our energy, preserve our peace of mind, and that way we can focus on the bigger and better things of our life, which is really goal-oriented. That we can reach greater heights. But that does not mean that we acknowledge and say, oh, it's okay, whatever wrong is wrong, it doesn't mean that we accept the wrong thing. It only means that while we condemn the offense itself, we clearly can see the wrong thing as the wrong thing, but simultaneously, at the same time, we do not hold a grudge against the offender. So we condemn the offense, but we do not hold a grudge against the offender. Like the sin versus sinner, offense versus offender. So we don't harbor ill feelings towards the offender, but we definitely recognize the offense. Now, why don't forgive? Why can't we just hold on to our grudges and resentments? Because forgiving helps forgiver the most. We may think it's actually we are doing a favor to the one who actually has done something wrong towards us. But in fact, more than the person who actually made a mistake, it helps the forgiver, that is us, when we forgive and let go, it immensely benefits us. It frees up a lot of emotional energy that can be reinvested into something useful. And point number 2, forgiving to be forgiven. If we are not willing to forgive others, the point is that neither are we perfect, nor is anyone else perfect other than the Supreme Lord and the pure devotees. So if we are not ready to forgive them, guess what? When we also stumble and when we are on the other side, then we are not going to be forgiven either. So we take it a little easy and we are more forgiving towards others. So similarly, hopefully, they will also be more forgiving towards us, because no one is perfect. That's the fact. Like they say, to err is human. So mistakes are bound to happen. And then forgiving also helps us move forward. If we do not forgive, we become stagnant and we become stuck in the past. constantly like a broken record, playing this over and over and over. What happened? Because we are giving it so much of rental space in our mind. So instead of moving forward, it's actually pulling us backward. So instead of progress, there is a lot of regress, which we absolutely do not want. And then also, forgiving eases us to tolerate our past life karmic reactions. So this is where we take a big picture view and ultimately understand, first of all, why did this thing happen to me? Because I have done something in the past to somebody in the past. Whatever goes around comes around. So what I have given out, whatever energy I have put out, whatever suffering I have caused to someone somewhere in the past is coming back to me through this person, through this situation. So ultimately, when we recognize that I myself am responsible for this, if I had not put out this kind of vibes, I would not have gotten back this. So if we can come to terms with that, it really helps us to tolerate other people and other situations and be more forgiving. So these are few reasons why forgive, but of course we will talk about so many other things as we move forward. Let's see what Krishna has to say about Shama, about forgiveness in Bhagavad Gita. So in chapter 12, the last 8 shlokas, that is from shlokas 13 to 20, in the 8 shlokas, Ashtakam, Bhaktashtakam, Krishna sings the glories of the character of his devotee. Krishna says what attracts Krishna. It's not our wealth, it's not our intelligence, it's not our external beauty, it's not our knowledge, it's not our fame, it's not our renunciation, it's not our strength. Then what is it that attracts Krishna towards us? So Krishna gives a very impressive, wonderful list of qualities, saying if my devotee, whoever has these qualities, very dear to me, very dear to me, these qualities are very attractive to me. So if we want to become dear to Krishna, then we should consciously try and inculcate these wonderful qualities that Krishna is talking about. Because a devotee is not simply recognized by one's external appearance. Okay, somebody is wearing tilak and having kanti mala, holding japamala in the hand, and Vedic attire. Of course, all that is nice. But what makes a devotee truly attractive is the inner qualities. These qualities that Krishna talks about in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in these 8 shlokas and few other shlokas here and there throughout Bhagavad Gita. So let us see this amazing shloka, one of my personal favorite section. This is, so 13th shloka. If you can also kindly repeat after me, that will be much appreciated. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitraha karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankarah sama dukkha sukha kshami. One line at a time, dear devotees. Please repeat. Very, very purifying. Adveshta sarva bhutana. Adveshta sarva bhutana. Maitraha karuna evacha. Maitraha karuna evacha. Nirmamo nirahankarah. Nirmamo nirahankarah. Samadhukka sukakshami. Samadhukka sukakshami. Adveshta sarva bhutana. Maitraha karuna evacha. Nirmamo nirahankarah. Samadhukka sukakshami. So in this very beautiful verse, Krishna is saying the very first quality endearing to Krishna is adveshta, non-enviousness, sarvabhutanam, being non-envious towards all the living entities, sarvabhutanam, maitraha, being friendly towards every other creature, karuna, to have a heart filled with compassion towards everybody, nirmamo nirahankaraha, to not possess the mentality of I and mine. Nirahankaraha means I, nirmama means mine, I and mine, me and mine. Sama, dukkha, sukha, somebody who is equipoised towards both dukkha and sukha, happiness and misery. And the last word of this particular shloka, kshami, one who is forgiving. Krishna says it's a very endearing quality to Krishna, kshami, to have this ability to forgive, to let go, is attractive even to Krishna. So this word kshami, how to become kshami, how to become forgiving? Well, that's the topic we are diving into today. And the beauty of this is not only is Krishna expecting us to be forgiving, but he himself embodies this wonderful quality of forgiveness. He does not expect, he does not ask something of us which he does not manifest, he does not exhibit himself. In fact, not only is Krishna forgiving, but he exhibits forgiveness to the highest standard. To the highest standard. In fact, this is exactly why in Srimad Bhagavatam we see, I believe in third canto, right at the beginning when there is Vidura and Uddhava Samvada that is happening, Uddhava is recollecting Krishna's wonderful qualities, and the very first quality, prominent qualities that Uddhava is recollecting about Krishna is this nature of Krishna's forgiveness. So how exactly is Krishna an embodiment of forgiveness? How does he display forgiveness? Let's draw some inspiration from Krishna's own examples, and then we will talk about two practical models, how to seek forgiveness, how to offer forgiveness. So scenario number 1, okay, so we are going to talk about 4 scenarios related to Krishna. How does Krishna deal with different situations when it comes to forgiveness? So scenario number 1, if the intention is good, but the action is bad, Krishna is willing to accept the intention and forgive the action. So let's dive a little deeper into this, and I want your involvement also. So I have a question for you. So can you please share some examples where Krishna was willing to accept the good intention and forgive the bad action? So one of the examples that I can think of is from the Damodara Leela. During Kartik Masa, we relish Damodara Leela so much. And there we see the intention of Mother Yashoda when she had Krishna on her lap. And as she was feeding Krishna milk, her intention was, the Padmagandha milk is overboiling on the stove, and if all the milk, Padmagandha milk, goes to waste, then Krishna will not have this milk to drink. So let me first go take care of it. So her intention was to take care of Krishna, but while trying to take care of the milk, meanwhile what she did, she displeased Krishna with her action. And what was that action? She put Krishna on the ground. She abruptly stopped feeding him milk. She just left Krishna there on the floor, and she rushed to the kitchen. So the intention was good, to take care of Krishna, to give him the best, but the action itself was not so great, because she kind of quote unquote abandoned Krishna. So in such scenarios, Krishna is willing to accept the intention and forgive the action. So I just gave you now one example, that is of Damodara Leela, Mother Yashoda and Krishna. So can you think of any other such examples from Srimad Bhagavatam or elsewhere? So please put it in the chat section. I will read out of you. And meanwhile, I see Vijayarani Mataji is here, Rajeshwari Hirematji is here, Hare Krishna, Raghavendra Kulkarni sir and Gita Kulkarni Mataji, Harshita, Gita Devi Mataji, Sadasivan Hari, Hare Krishna, and Paulina Kate. I will have to report you because you are posting things which are unnecessary here. And Leelavati Mataji, I already mentioned. So who can tell me in the chat section a few other examples, please? Let us keep it a little interactive. Damodara Leela, I just gave you one example. What other Leelas can you think of? One other thing I can think of is Jaya Vijaya. Right? Their intention was that they wanted to protect the privacy of the Lord. They thought, okay, Lord is taking rest, so we cannot allow these Kumaras to barge in. But the action of stopping devotees from entering Vaikuntha, it angered Kumaras. So Jaya Vijaya, another classic example. Intention was good, but the action was bad. Abhirami Mataji is saying Lord Krishna liberating demons in spite of they were envious of him. Well, that is not a classic example of the intention being good. The demons did not have any good intentions. They were envious of Krishna. They wanted to kill Krishna, Abhirami Mataji. So I'm specifically asking examples where the intention is good, but the action is bad. And demons, they definitely didn't have good intentions. Roma is saying Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Maiya became busy during a function ceremony when he kicked the cart. Okay. Shakatasura incident. Good. Very nice. Satyamurthy sir is saying Bhakta Prahlada. With Prahlada, both the intention and actions are good, right? So please pay attention to the question I'm asking clearly. Some of you are getting confused. So Sri Ramji, Hare Krishna, welcome to the session, Sri Ramji and family. Rajeshwari Hirematji is saying, in Mahabharata, Krishna guided Arjuna to kill Karna while his chariot got broken. See, the examples are not appropriate, some of you, what you're giving. My question is, please come up with some incidents from Bhagavatam, Ramayana or Mahabharata, especially Bhagavatam, where the intention is right, but the action is wrong. I already gave you two examples, Damodara Leela and Jaya Vijaya example. So can you think of some other examples like that? Roma came up with good examples. I think some other, you got confused a little bit. So Bhishma Pitamaha is another example. His intention is to please Krishna. He knows that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But his action is not good because he's fighting on the side of Kauravas, who are adharmic. So Bhishma Deva is an example, good intention but bad action. Vritrasura is another example from Srimad Bhagavatam. When he was Chitraketu, he actually had good intention when he just joked to Lord Shiva when he was keeping Mother Parvati on his lap and giving a Bhagavatam discourse. But Mother Parvati took offense to it and she cursed Chitraketu. So he clarifies his intention. So although his action of joking to Lord Shiva, that was inappropriate, but his intention itself was right. Okay, Gopi Rangan sir, Hare Krishna. Draupadi leaving no food for Krishna. How is that intention right but action is wrong? How would that justify? Putana is not an example for this, Gita Mataji. Putana's intention was to kill Krishna. We are saying about intention being good and action being bad. Putana is an example for the next category where we are going to talk about. Yeah, Saraswati Mataji mentioned about Chitraketu and Lord Shiva's example. Good. So looks like all the devotees here need to, update our SBQ, Srimad Bhagavatam quotient. So if we know a whole lot of pastimes, it will be very easy to come up with examples. Looks like, we are really struggling. So that means we need to become more familiar with the pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our lifeblood. So Bhishmadev, Vritrasura as Chitraketu, Damodara Leela, Jaya Vijaya, and there was also one instance during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to have darshan in Jagannath Puri, there was this old lady. She was so eager to have darshan of Lord Jagannatha, she literally climbed on the shoulder of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very fortunate lady, most fortunate. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, instead of, getting upset with her, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciates her eagerness. He says, I wish I was as enthusiastic as you to have darshan of Lord Jagannatha. So when the action itself we see, this old lady climbing on the shoulder of Mahaprabhu is offensive. But her intention, that eagerness, that intense desire to have darshan of the Lord, that is commendable. So like this, there are so many examples in the Shastra when the intention is good but the action is bad. Krishna is so wonderful that he is willing to accept the intention and forgive the bad action. Now scenario 2, exact opposite. When the action is right but the intention is evil, Krishna is willing to accept the action and forgive the intention. So Gita Devi Mataji mentioned Putana. Putana is a classic example for this. Her action of feeding milk to Krishna is very motherly and commendable. But her intention of smearing her breast with poison and trying to kill Krishna, the intention is evil. So what did Krishna do? He ignored, he forgave her for her bad intention, but he accepted that motherly nature of feeding and he elevated Putana's position to Datri and she went back home, back to Godhead, to Goloka. Ajamala is yet another classic example. His action of taking the name of Narayana at the very end of his life is noble. But his intention was to simply call out to his 10th child. So the action was good, but the intention was not right. And we all know what happened, isn't it? That Yamadutas had to leave, Vishnudutas came. And Yamadutas tried to argue. They even went back to Yamaraj and said, we know that this man did not actually mean to call Lord Narayana. He only called out his son Narayana. But Lord Brahma, not Lord Brahma, sorry, Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, he told the Yamadutas, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The Supreme Lord is sakshat dharma. He is dharma personified. So if the Lord and his dutas are saying that, well, we are accepting, his action of chanting Narayana is good enough and take him, then Yamaraj said, who are we to stop? And thank God for this nature of Krishna, that even when we are chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. That our action of chanting is right, but our intention, our mind may be wandering here and there, but Krishna is so merciful that he accepts the action of chanting and forgives the intention, the distracted mind. And even in Kirtan, maybe we are in the Kirtan, but we may not be really focusing on the Kirtan. We may be, but still dancing there, being there, raising our hands. So Krishna says, all right, all right. The action is right. I give it to you. The intention is not proper. It's poor. Let it go. And we see Parnika is saying Putana's intention was wrong and her action was right. Yep. Lata ji said Shabari's story. Yeah, very good example. The action itself. Well, Shabari's story would be a good example for the earlier one, not this one, where the intention was right and the action was wrong. Where she was actually tasting and giving the juta to Lord Ramachandra. But her intention was to please the Lord and give him only the best of the berries and the sweet berries. So Shabari is a good example, but for scenario 1, not scenario 2. Okay, very nice. So scenario 1, scenario 2, and scenario 3. What if both intention and action are wrong? Then what do you think Krishna does? Any guess? Please put it in the chat section. Intention is also bad, action is also bad. What happens then? So could you please put it in the chat section? What will Krishna do then if both intention and action both are bad? Like for example in the Govardhan Leela, where Indra inundates entire Vrindavan 7 days and nights continuously with destructive rains. Like this was like the rain, torrential downpour that is called during the time of Pralaya. And Indra wanted to kill all the Vrajavasis. I mean, there's nothing worse that anybody can do, right? This is the worst offense towards the Lord, trying to kill his dearest devotees. And Indra did that. So his intention was also bad, his actions were also bad. Same thing with Kaliya. Kaliya is the personification of envy. He was so filled with envy and so filled with poison that he poisoned the entire waters of Yamuna with the intention of harming all the Vrajavasis, the cows, the cowherd boys, the cowherd men, everybody, all the Vrajavasis, the women, the children. So Kaliya's intention is also bad, action is also bad. So what will Krishna do then? Chetan Prabhu is saying Lakshmana and Sita Devi pastime, when Sita Devi says Lakshmana to go and save his brother and uses some strong words against him when he refuses. Good example. Lataji is talking about Jagai and Madai. Okay, but Lataji, you have to give specific examples, okay? Whichever scenario we are, okay, I think you are talking about the intention and action both being bad. Yeah, good. Srividya ji is talking about Shishupala, alright. Both intention and action bad. Parnika is talking about Trinavarta and all the demons, not just Trinavarta, but many other demons. Srividya ji is saying Brahma stealing the cows, calves, and the gobas. Yeah, absolutely. Good example. And Kamsa is another example. Duryodhana, all these demons, Kamsa, Duryodhana, Trinavarta, so many. Shishupala, intention and action was bad. Good, good, good. Now we are all getting a hang of it. Very good. Agasura, yes, all these asuras. Roma is saying he forgives if genuinely asked forgiveness. Example, Brahma Vimochana Leela. And Srividya Mataji is saying Rukmi, brother of Rukmini. All right. So Roma actually gave the right answer. Good job, Roma. So when the intention and action both are bad, Krishna is awaiting for us to seek forgiveness. The moment we beg for forgiveness, Krishna forgives. Like it happened in Indra's case, isn't it? He came and apologized. But how exactly he did it, we will see later in our strategy. But Krishna forgave him the moment he came and asked for forgiveness. In fact, Krishna he did not even demote Indra. He didn't say, okay, I remove you from this position. How dare you do this? You are no longer in the position of Indra. No, he even continued. He let him continue in the same position as the demigod in charge of rain. And with Kaliya, the Nagapatnis came and apologized to Krishna on behalf of Kaliya, and Krishna forgave him. So when both intention and action are wrong, Krishna, the moment we beg for forgiveness, he is willing to forgive. So we have seen 3 scenarios thus far. So scenario 1, when the intention is good but action is bad. Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He takes the intention and leaves the action. Scenario 2, where the action is good but the intention is bad. Krishna is willing to accept the action and forgive for the intention. And number 3, we said both action and intention are bad, and Krishna is willing to forgive us the moment we beg for forgiveness. Now, but there is one scenario, that is the 4th scenario, where Krishna will not forgive. So, any idea what is the scenario in which Krishna will not forgive? Krishna says, I can't help you. Of course, he helps, but he does not forgive. So, can you put in the chat section? So, what is the scenario in which even Krishna does not forgive? Any idea? Chetan Prabhu is saying Jagai and Madai pastime. Yeah, that's good. With Nityananda Prabhu, very nice. Vijayarani Mataji, Ravana, Rajeshwari ji saying Duryodhana. Yeah, all these demons, both action and intention bad. So who can tell me? Let's see who will give this answer right. What is the situation in which Krishna does not forgive? Who can tell me? Put it in the chat section. Let's see some comments coming. Yes. Intelligent audience, I must say. So Sri Vidya Mataji is saying devotee blaspheming. Lataji is saying Durvasa. Chetan Prabhu is saying when someone hurts his devotees. Lataji is saying Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. Gita Mataji is saying insulting the Vaishnava. Saraswati Mataji is also recollecting Durvasa Muni example. Leelavati Mataji is saying blame the devotees of Krishna. Absolutely. When we offend the devotees of the Lord, then even Krishna will not forgive us. Like many of you rightly pointed out, Durvasa offended Maharaja Ambarish for no fault of Ambarish. That was a huge mistake on Durvasa Muni's part to create a fiery demon to kill the host who actually did not do anything wrong. And then Durvasa was going here and there and seeking help. Brahma said no. Shiva said no. And even Lord Narayana said, even I cannot. But Durvasa said, Sudarshana is your weapon. But Narayana said, no, I cannot. But even in this situation, although Krishna does not forgive us directly, he prompts us to go to the devotee who we have offended and seek their forgiveness. So in that way, Krishna helps us through as Paramatma in our heart, through Guru, through Shastra, through other devotees. Krishna will prompt us. Go to the devotee who you've offended, who you've blasphemed, or who you've hurt, and seek their forgiveness. Just like for Durvasa Muni, he said, go back to Ambarish. So we should be very, very careful in not offending devotees. Very dangerous. It's even more dangerous than hurting Krishna, offending Krishna. Okay. So 4 scenarios we have talked about. And actually Actually, even in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions these two very beautiful shlokas in chapter 9, shlokas 30 and 31. Abhichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, Abhichet suduracharo. Even if one commits durachara, the two sudurachara, even if one commits the most abominable action, as long as bhajate mam ananya bhak, as long as he is doing bhajana, as long as he is engaged in devotional service, mam unto the Supreme Lord, ananya bhak, in an undeviated way, continuously performing devotional service towards Krishna, sadureva samantavyah, then to such a person, in spite of having done something abominable, because they're practicing loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord in an undeviating way, you have to consider them mantavyaha as what? As sadhu. We cannot offend them. Samyak vyavasito hi saha. Why? Because their intention is right. They have the right determination. Once in a while, yes, they may stumble, they may make some mistakes, just like a child who is learning to walk. Their intention is right. They want to learn to walk. They have the right determination, but they may fall down every once in a while. But the parents and the other family members, friends, they don't put the child down and say, oh, you fell down. Oh, no, instead we encourage, come on, get back up, get back up, get back up. You can do this, you can do this. Come on, come on, come on. We encourage. So similarly, Krishna is also saying a devotee who has the right determination, they're working towards making spiritual progress, going back home, back to Godhead, suduracharo. Because of past karmic influences or bad, whatever it is, if they fall down, if they make some mistake, Krishna is saying, that's all right, that's all right. As long as they have a genuine remorse in their heart, as long as they're willing to get back up and keep going and performing devotional services, Krishna is saying, don't look down upon my devotee. Sadhureva samantavyaha. Consider them as a devotee. In fact, Krishna goes on to tell Arjuna in the next shloka, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Kshipram, quickly, bhavati dharmatma. My devotee very quickly will become dharmatma again. They will follow the righteous principles again. Shashvachantim nigacchati. They will attain lasting peace. Kaunteya pratijanihi. Oh, son of Kunti, Arjuna, pratijanihi. Just declare boldly, Name bhakta pranashyati, that my devotees never perish. Never perish. So we see what a wonderful character Krishna has, and this is how Krishna is setting the highest standard. We see Krishna's embodiment of forgiveness in these two shlokas. He's like, well, my devotees, yeah, they may fall down now and then, but that's okay. Let it go, let it go. Why? Because immediately they will get back up. Immediately they'll try to correct themselves, and they're heading towards the right direction, so right destination. Don't worry. So amazing. So this Supreme Lord Krishna, this is the most attractive feature about Krishna. Not just that he's the strongest, he's the most beautiful, he's the most knowledgeable, he's the most famous, he's the strongest, he's the most renounced. All that is great. All that is great. But can you imagine if somebody has all the 6 types of Aishwaryas, but they are not forgiving in nature? Can you imagine? And then if we commit some mistake, that person, because of their strength and opulence and all that, they may just crush the other party. But thank God, Krishna is not that kind of a God. In spite of being all those full in opulences, Krishna is the most forgiving. This is the most beautiful feature of Krishna along with the others. In fact, because of this characteristic of Krishna, where he is willing to forgive so readily, it in fact makes all the other qualities also even more wonderful. So this is part 1. Now in part 2, seeking forgiveness. What is the practical model? So imagine that we have committed something wrong, which is bound to happen, right? It's not a matter of if we will stumble, if we will make a mistake. That's not the question. When are we going to stumble? When are we going to make mistake? That is a more practical statement actually, because we are not perfect. We are bound to make mistakes. Of course, we have to try and reduce them as much as possible, but inevitably sometimes we end up making mistakes. So when we are wrong, how do we go about seeking forgiveness? So we'll go through step by step. But even before all the steps that we are going to talk about, first of all, how do we know that we require forgiveness? How do we know that we have made some mistake? Who can tell? How do we know that we need to go and apologize, that we've done something wrong? How do we know? How can we realize that yes, we have committed some mistake and I need to go and ask for forgiveness? How to tell? Any idea, dear devotees? Patiently waiting for you to put some comments. Okay, Sadashivan Hari is saying when someone chastises his devotees. Okay. Oh, that is for the earlier one, I think. All right. Saraswati Mataji is saying guilty conscience. Good. This is one of the ways. What are other ways? Chetan Prabhu is saying we feel hurt when that is done to us by others. Very beautiful point. Very nice. Anything else? Good points, like both of them. What are some other ways of finding out that yes, I need to seek forgiveness? Any idea? Come on, let's keep it interactive a little bit. Although it's a virtual session, I would appreciate if you can take the time to put some comments. Abhi Mataji is saying guilty feeling. All right, guilty conscience, guilty feeling. What else? What else? What else? So you can keep putting the comments. Meanwhile, I will go and start explaining. So yes, Krishna seated as super soul in our heart, as Paramatma in our heart. Anybody who is even halfway decent, their conscience itself will keep nudging them. That, it doesn't feel right. There is a sense of anxiety and agitation. We lose our peace of mind. We know that we have messed up. And yet another way is sometimes others will tell us. Maybe, there were a few other people who heard us when we said certain things or we did certain things, they would have seen, and they may tell us that, Prabhu, Mataji, this is not right what you did. Or sometimes they may even point out as like, you said this, but your tone was a little different. It may have hurt the other person. So sometimes we may be blindsided, but other people may tell us. And sometimes the devotee or the other person who we have offended themselves may react in a way to tell us that they are not okay with this. And sometimes our own close family members will tell us. So it's very important to have at least 2 to 3 people who are extremely close to us, who are our well-wishers, who can actually tell us straight to our face as it is that this is wrong. So there should be at least 2 to 3 people whose praise and criticism we can take both seriously, because they are our well-wishers and they're able to, figure out. They have the intelligence, they know us quite well. I'm getting a suggestion saying that the audio stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. I hope you are still able to hear me, and I hope you are continuing to see me and hear me. If there is any disruption, please put it in the chat section. I hope by Lord Narasimha's mercy it continues to stream properly. So sometimes close family members, your spouse, somebody who knows you very closely, if we have that trust and healthy relationship, so if we are getting feedback from that close quarters, people who don't praise us simply because they want something out of us, and people who don't criticize us because they're envious of us or something like that, because not all criticism is coming from the right place, not all praise is coming from the right place. So if we have these 2-3 people who can very honestly, like a mirror, tell us this is this, whether it's good or bad. So such people we should take their feedback, and we should understand, okay, if this person is saying, I think I've done something wrong. And also, just like, how did Durvasa Muni get to know that he had made a mistake in offending Ambarish Maharaj? When Sudarshana Chakra was released behind him and it was chasing him all over the 3 worlds. So similarly, that Sudarshana Chakra that Krishna has left behind each of us is in the form of time. So this Kala Rupi Krishna in the form of time, that is also chasing after us. That is gnawing us down. GNAW, gnawing us down. That we know that something is wrong. So these are some of the ways either that same person will tell us or others will tell us. Sometimes the close people, trustworthy family members, they will tell us. Sudarshana Chakra in the form of time, just like Durvasa Muni was chased after. Even we are being chased after this weapon of time. And then super soul conscience, feeling guilty about it, losing our peace of mind. And just like Durvasa Muni first went to Brahma, he tried to justify his case, and Brahma said, nope, I can't help you. He went to Lord Shiva and he also tried to justify his case with Shiva. Lord Shiva also refused to help. So similarly, sometimes instead of seeking forgiveness, we may be trying to find some temporary relief by going to this person and that person and another person and trying to put across our viewpoint, our stand. Well, this is not exactly what I thought, or that is not what I said, but this person reacted too much, or that person did this or said this. That person started it first. They provoked me. So we may come up with all kinds of reasons and go to all different types of people, trying to, rally them in our favor and trying to prove our case. This is just like Durvasa Muni making this futile attempt to go to Brahma, to Shiva, and trying to gather help, but no use. So we can't really take off this burden from our heart if we simply keep going to different people and trying to justify our case. Instead, we have to come to terms that yes, I have done a mistake and I need to seek forgiveness. But it's not so easy, because our pride, we feel like, our pride is damaged in the process of asking for forgiveness. We want to preserve our pride and ego. Sometimes anger, we may be very angry with what that person has done or said, because of which we may not want to ask forgiveness. And then fear. What fear? that, oh, if I go and ask sorry, how will that person react? What if they don't accept my apology? That will be like double insult. So we try to play all these scenarios in our head. That will that person accept my apology? What if they further insult me and try to crush me down? What will happen to my self-esteem? As it is, I'm, feeling guilty and feeling bad. And if that person doesn't accept my apology or says something else in return, oh my God. So we play all these scenarios and we are afraid to ask for forgiveness. But it takes a lot of courage to come to terms with it and go ahead and seek forgiveness. But it's not as simple as simply going and saying sorry. Although that's the essential thing, there are 4 important steps, a practical model in seeking forgiveness. And in fact, the sooner we start the process of asking for forgiveness, the less painful it's going to be. The longer we stay, sometimes months, years, or even decades, we are simply unnecessarily carrying this baggage, and that is holding us down. So the sooner we start, the better actually. So what are these 4 steps as a practical model to seek forgiveness? Let's go ahead and take a look. So you can make a note, you can make notes, or even take a picture. So the very first step is preparing the ground and increasing the likelihood of apology being accepted. So what is this preparing the ground? Just like the Govardhana Leela, which we were just now talking about, where Indra offended Krishna and the Vrajavasis. He did the worst possible mistake anybody could have done. So what did he do once he understood it was wrong? Preparing the ground. He first of all went to his superior, that is Lord Brahma, and he got advice. And Lord Brahma instructed him, you don't go by yourself, you take Surabhi with you. Krishna loves cows. So when you take Surabhi, the likelihood of Krishna accepting your apology is going to increase. So we see how Indra, seeking advice from a superior before heading to ask forgiveness from Krishna, taking Surabhi with him, and the choice prayers that he utters. So this is all preparing the ground. So for us also, in seeking forgiveness, if we can prepare the ground in the sense that mentally prepare ourselves, not coming across as egoistic, and also looking for the right place, right time, right scenario where we can actually seek forgiveness. So we need to do all that, whatever is possible. And Indra, when he comes first, he is praising the Supreme Lord. Surabhi is also uttering such wonderful prayers. So this is all preparing the ground and seeking forgiveness. And by way, we are increasing the chances of our apology being accepted. And number 2, we need to very specifically and clearly recognize our mistake and go ahead and apologize. Now, what does it mean, recognizing our mistake and apologizing? This again has 4 elements to it. Number 1, we need to make a specific statement about what is it that we did wrong. No beating around the bush or not simply saying sorry. People simply say sorry for the sake of it, but they don't really realize what was the exact mistake that actually hurt the other person. So we need to be very specific and come to terms with what is our thought or speech or action or a combination of these that actually offended the other person, and we need to be very vocal about it. And number 2, apology should not have any conditions. It's not like, well, I'm sorry for what I said, but then you also said this. If only you had not said this, I would not have said that. So what are we adding here? The if and the buts. Well, I said this, but you said that. If you had not done this, then I would not have done that. So you see how there are conditions. So it's not a full-hearted apology. So even if they had, there was some provocation, if something had happened, but this, you should not bring it up at all. You are only focused on your own mistake and you're apologizing for that. So it should not have any conditions, no ifs and no buts. And number 3, clarify our intention, whether it was positive intention or negative intention, clarify it. Just, share your heart. Like there was one incident in the recent past when somebody came and apologized, but they were very honest in the way that they said, they said what they said, but they accepted that it came from a place of envy. They said, well, I was envious about this, so that is why I said that. So when somebody comes to term, it takes a lot of courage to accept the fact that, it came from a place of envy or whatever it is, that, clarifying their intention. So this is the way where you can gain respect and then, come clean with your intention and then move forward from there. Or sometimes the intention may have been positive, just like in Chitraketu Maharaj's case. He didn't really mean anything bad when he made that comment towards Lord Shiva. He did clarify his intention, but he accepted the curse of Mother Parvati. He moved on. There is an incident from Bhagavatam where 2 people came together and both had negative intentions. Both. Didi and Indra. Didi was wanting to have a child who is going to kill Indra. Didi is the mother of Daityas. And Indra, knowing this ill intention of Didi, he came with the disguise of, with the pretense of wanting to serve Didi, saying that, oh, you're carrying and all that, I will help you. But even he had negative intention. So once when she was sleeping, he entered into her womb and he literally cut her embryo. And eventually both of them come to terms with their negative intentions. They open up about it. And number 4, in apologizing, we suggest a remedy. It's not like you just said sorry and it's back to square one. Things are the same. No, something has to change. What's the solution? What's the remedy? How are things going to get better? So we should also suggest a remedy. So that responsibility is on the person who actually committed the mistake. So step 1, preparing the ground and increasing the likelihood of apology being accepted. Step 2, recognizing our mistake and apologizing with all these sub points that we covered. And then number 3, feeling genuine remorse. So asking forgiveness externally, that's great. But internally, what is happening inside our heart? Are we really repenting? So this is an inner feeling, and this is only between the Atma and Krishna. Only that person knows what's going on, and Krishna knows what's going on in their heart. It's not something that is tangible and we can measure and say, oh, this much remorse this person is feeling. But that fire of remorse will actually burn any misgivings that we have done. So remorse, genuine remorse is extremely important. And number 4, another important thing is making a change in our behavior. So like they say, right, true reflection of a sorry is when you see changed behavior. So not just saying sorry, but molding our behavior going forward in a way we don't keep continuing to making that mistake again and again. So these are the 4 very important steps in seeking forgiveness, and a few important points to keep in mind here is, if in case the mistake is quite big, it's a major mistake, and there is some mediation that is needed, just like I gave you the example of Indra and Lord Krishna right now, where Surabhi was more like a mediator, right? So she was brought by Indra to help ease the tension and increase the likelihood of Krishna forgiving. So similarly, in the Daksha Prajapati and Lord Shiva's case, Brahma, he acts as the mediator. He tells Lord Shiva that, you cut off his head and now Daksha, you have to let go of it and do all these things. Then Shiva immediately accepted. And Lord Shiva replaced Daksha's head with a goat's head. So Brahma acted as a mediator. And in the case of Dhruva and Yakshas, where Dhruva got disproportionately angry with the Yakshas in Srimad Bhagavatam, Swayambhuva Manu came, who is the grandfather of Dhruva. And then Prachetas and the trees. Here again, Brahma acts as the mediator. So I hope some of you know these pastimes from Bhagavatam, whatever I'm sharing. Then it will make more sense to you. So anytime there is some serious apology needed, there was some very grave mistake done, then we may also want some third person to involve. But that third person must be, somebody who both the parties trust and who is a well-wisher of both and who is going to have an unbiased, favorable attitude towards both. So that is one point. Look at the possibility of having a mediator, a third person. And what if you did all these four things? You prepared the ground, you recognized your mistake, you apologized, you genuinely feel you're feeling remorse and you're making change in our behavior. But what if the other person refuses to accept your apology? So what if the forgiveness is not forthcoming? Then what to do? Any idea? Any idea? What if you did all these four steps, but the other person says, I'm not ready to accept your apology? If they say, I'm not willing to forgive you, not as yet, then what to do? What do you guys think? What do we do then? How to handle rejection of apology? If somebody says, I'm not willing to forgive you, they may say the hurt, the offense that you have caused is great, and they may say, I'm not ready to forgive. What do we do then? Anybody? It's okay, even if your answer is wrong, no worries. You can type something, whatever you feel like. You can take a guess. What do we do if the other person is not ready to forgive us? Any thoughts? No, there's a little lag between me speaking and you hearing. Okay, so we need to first of all understand that forgiving is also a process. Just like apologizing is a process where we talked about all these steps, forgiving is also a process. It's not like the person is always willing and ready to accept your apology the moment it comes out, because the wound may be very deep. And the wounds are fresh and they are still healing, they may not be ready. So forgiving is also a process, and we should acknowledge that. Saraswati Mataji is bringing up a good point. Leave for time to solve the problem. That's good. That's good. So like they say, time heals even the greatest of wounds. So giving some time, that is also good. And now we are saying leave it to God, leave to Krishna. Leave it with Krishna. Yeah, that is also, we can constantly keep praying to Krishna. So on one hand, we can definitely pray to Krishna and seek for his intervention, because Krishna is there in Paramatma, is there in their heart also. So we can pray to Krishna and beg Krishna that please, instruct them, guide them towards accepting my apology. So you can pray for Krishna's intervention, no doubt. And also, after giving it some time, maybe another round of apology that may help. This doesn't mean that repeatedly you should keep on apologizing, but at least maybe once or twice, one or two times more, so you can do a few rounds of apology. Because as devotees, as aspiring devotees, for us, we should feel pride not in that, that I offended this person, I hurt this person. That's karmi mentality. Putting somebody down, criticizing somebody down, hurting more people. So this is all tamoguna and rajoguna. So we should not take shelter of such qualities. So instead, as devotees, we should be saying, I am the first to apologize. Sometimes even if we are not wrong, that's okay. I am the first to apologize. I am the first to humble myself. Put the pride down. Amanina manadena. Always ready to give respect to others and not expecting any respect to oneself, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. And I am the first to praise others. So as devotees, these are the kind of things we should say. I am the first to apologize. I am the first to humble myself. And we have to practically do these things. And we should be the first to wholeheartedly praise others. And my Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, what a great pure devotee he was. And even he, at the time of leaving his body, he was seeking forgiveness from his god brothers and other devotees. So Prabhupada was showing by example of how to seek forgiveness. Just in case anybody is offended, we don't want to continue these karmic interactions life after life. So better to apologize and just end it right now and right here. So I'm getting another error message saying YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So I hope it continues. We have third section to cover. So section number 3 is how to forgive. Now turning the plates, if somebody else has offended us and we are at the end to forgive somebody, then how do we go about doing that? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. Chetan Prabhu is saying Ishwarasya Vicheshtitaha. Saraswati Mataji saying prayers or send blessings. Vijarani Mataji, give them more time. That's good. Abhi Mataji is saying be patient and tolerate. Good. Very nice suggestion. Alright, so part 1 we talked about why to forgive and Krishna setting the highest example of forgiveness. And part 2 we talked about seeking forgiveness when we have committed some mistake. Now part 3 is how to offer forgiveness. So let's take a look at this. Alright, offering forgiveness, a practical model. So why forgive, which we already talked about, but briefly take a look. There are many spiritual reasons. Just now we talked about how 12.13 Krishna is saying forgiveness is attractive to Krishna. Those who forgive Krishna says is very dear to him. So we have to see it as an opportunity to become dear to Krishna by forgiving others. And also anger. So we have to understand that maybe because we are angry towards this person, it's causing an obstacle and it is misdirected anger. So if we can subdue our anger and use anger as a tool, but not as a way of holding grudge against others. And also understanding about law of karma. So if we can realize that, all right, okay, this person may have done certain things to me, but whatever they did, they will receive it through some other means. I don't have to be the one offering justice and trying to prove things right. We don't have to waste our time and energy doing those. And also trying to understand that if we engage in this law of karma, continue to be in this loop, this is going to go on and on and on and on, but we want to get out of it. And how do we get out? By offering forgiveness and let it go. Don't hold on to it. And let Krishna be the builder of karma. Let Krishna settle the scores. Let us not burden our hearts and minds with so much of grudge and resentment. Krishna will settle it in the best possible way, in the best possible time. We don't have to take everything in our own hands. Now, how do we forgive? Two important points. One is we need to recalibrate our perspective of the offender. Because many a times we don't know the entire scenario. We don't know. There could be a lot of misunderstanding, misperceptions, assumptions. So we could be wrong in the way we took it. So it's better if we give benefit of doubt to the other person. And also we should understand that this is, a lot of times it may not just be something against us, it may just be their nature. And Krishna says how powerful the nature is, that they cannot repress, they cannot and we cannot, somebody's nature will come forth. And lifetimes of so many impressions an individual is carrying. So if we can consider all these things and understand that, well, it is the nature of that person to do that, and let's not be so judgmental. Like Brahma, when he stole the cows and the cowherd boys, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is given, this is to be expected because Lord Brahma is in charge of the mode of passion. So to fall prey to the illusion and once in a while such things to happen, and King Rahugana and Jadabhara, there are so many examples like this. And somebody earlier mentioned about Lakshmana and Mother Sita. I think it was Chetan Prabhu who mentioned that. So just like how Krishna is seeing the intention, the action and all the different things. So if we can also find something good and give benefit of doubt to the other person, it's actually good for us and for them and for the relationship in general. And ultimately to understand that just like we are dear to Krishna, they are also dear to Krishna. Because Krishna says, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Bhuta Jiva Sanatana, right? We are all Mamai Vamsho, Krishna's Amsha. We are part and parcel of Krishna. I don't think I said those two lines exactly right, but you know what I mean. So just like we are part and parcel, they are also part and parcel of Krishna. So at least as a way of pleasing Krishna, we should learn to let it go and understand that even they are dear to Krishna. Just like if somebody is from our own family, it's easier to forgive. Oh, okay, they're my parents or they're my brother, sister. It's easy. So if we can have that kind of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam mentality, universal brotherhood, sisterhood, father, all these things, because we all share one father, that's Krishna, then it's easier to forgive. And not only recalibrating our perspective of the offender, step 2 is recalibrating our own perspective of ourselves. So we should learn to humble ourselves and try to understand that I may not be right at all times either. Remember, nobody is perfect. And we should see this as a mercy of the Lord, where He is giving us an opportunity to relieve us of our pride. That somebody said something nasty, they insulted, criticized, or whatever it was, or they ignored us, or they didn't treat us right, or they tried to malign our character. Okay, it's an opportunity to dissolve our false ego. It is an opportunity to get rid of our pride. We don't have to hold so much of grudge and try to prove ourselves as being right. Just like, when Indra came back and he asked for forgiveness from Krishna, Krishna did not humiliate him. Krishna let the offender save his face and he let him go back. Parikshit Maharaj, he did not go back and apologize to Shamik Rishi about Shringi. Why? Because he knew that Shamik Rishi, it was Shringi who cursed him, but Shamik Rishi, he must be already mortified. He must be feeling so bad about what his son has done. And now Parikshit, if he goes to apologize, it's going to embarrass Shamik Rishi so much more. So all these sensitive things to be aware of. And there is the episode in Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam about Dharma the bull, where Parikshit Maharaj is asking the bull, who is the offender? Who is hurting you? This Kali personified Mlecha, who is dressed like a king, the Kali personified, he's right there hurting Dharma, but Dharma does not point towards him. So anybody who actually points the offender also becomes part of the offense, it is said. This is like the highest, levels of dharmic realizations. So these are some of the things we should keep in mind. We must understand that the person may already be feeling so much of remorse and guilt, and they may be embarrassed, and for them to come and ask sorry and all that, already they're going through a lot. So we should not make it harder for them. Instead, we need to let go for their good and even for our own good, actually, more so for our benefit. So just accept the apology and let it go. And also normalizing the relationship right after forgiving. This responsibility is also on the part of the one who is forgiving, one who is offering forgiveness. So let's say somebody offended and they came and apologized, and we accept the apology, and immediately it is our responsibility to normalize the relationship. Because anytime there is a rift, such things happen, the relationship takes a downturn. So again, to lift it up, to bring it back to normal. So the person who offered forgiveness, it is their responsibility. So we see this example in Maharaja Ambrish and Durvasa Muni. The moment Durvasa Muni came and apologized to Ambrish, Ambrish immediately, he lifted Durvasa Muni. He's like, no, don't touch my feet. Get up. And not only that, he said, well, hold on, where did we stop? Oh, we were supposed to have food. Isn't it, Durvasa Muni? Come, let's go. And he made Durvasa Muni sit down like as though nothing had happened in a nice seat. And he offered Durvasa Muni a wonderful feast. And then Durvasa Muni said, oh, great King Ambarish, why don't you also now please sit down and take prasad? So we see how the relationship was normalized. But Ambarish took the initiative here because already Durvasa was so embarrassed. He's gone to 3 different worlds. Narayana refused to help Lord Shiva refused to help, Lord Brahma refused to help, Lord Narayana refused to help. Sudarshana Chakra was chasing him. He had become the laughing stock. He's on the, he was touching the feet of Ambarish Maharaj, asking for forgiveness. So he's had enough. So Maharaj Ambarish is taking the initiative to normalize the relationship. And that's how it needs to be. And another important point is, to forgive somebody, it's not necessary that the other person should apologize. And in fact, most of the times, the other person may not have the maturity and that level of conscience to come and apologize. So if we just sit and wait that, yeah, they will come and apologize, I will offer forgiveness and relieve this burden of my chest, then it may never happen because we are tying our forgiveness to them coming and asking us sorry, and that may not happen. So to understand that to forgive somebody, apology is not a prerequisite. So even if they don't come and ask sorry, we can still forgive and take this burden off of our heart. So that way we are relieved of this grudge and we can focus and keep moving forward. Whether they feel sorry, don't feel sorry, that's up to them. That's between them and Krishna. So all these so many subtle points, to keep in mind related to forgiveness. But a word of caution, what forgiving is not. Let's see that, very important. This is the last slide. We are almost there. So what forgiving is not? Well, forgiveness is not trusting. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean that you ignore all the red flags and still continue to trust that person. Not necessary. Forgiving means you don't have any ill feelings towards them, but it doesn't mean that you're foolish enough to keep trusting them again and again. And number two, forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiving means, you acknowledge the offense and you let it go. But you are aware that, this is the swabhava of this person, this is what has happened, and you have the right to defend your peace of mind going forward. And forgiveness is not condoning. Forgiveness does not mean to say, oh, that was not even a mistake, it's okay. Well, if it was a mistake, it was. So we don't have to falsely brush it off and say it's not at all a mistake. Now that would be foolishness. So these are some of the points. So we've discussed it in 3 parts. Part 1, we tried to understand what is forgiveness, why forgive, and who sets the best example for forgiveness, and that is our Supreme Lord Krishna himself. And part 2, we talked about the different steps that we can go through in seeking forgiveness. And then part 3, we talked about how to recalibrate our perspective of the person who's offended us, and also to recalibrate the perspective of our own self, and then coming to terms with all these things and be ready to forgive others. And devotees are so wonderful that they don't even take offense. Sometimes you go and tell, Prabhuji, Mataji, sorry. They will say, oh, Prabhu, I didn't even think of all this. And in fact, it's we need to understand, if we are always getting offended very easily, that means our false ego is quite thick. So highly egoistic people keep getting offended very often. Even the slightest thing can provoke them. And they get offended. But the more and more sincerely we are practicing devotional service, we are chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the lesser our false ego is, we don't get easily offended, which is a good thing. In fact, as Vaishnavas, as Krishna devotees, we should come to a point where we should become unoffendable. Our false ego should be so dissolved that doesn't matter who says what or does what, we should not even take offense. We should become unoffendable. So that way, instead of wasting our time and energy with all these things, mistakes and forgiveness and so many other things, we can just focus on the main thing. Keep the main thing, and that is going back home, back to Godhead. We don't want to get involved in all these petty things. That's not our business. Our business is pleasing Krishna and Guru, Srila Prabhupada, and going back home, back to Godhead. Okay, so on that note, anybody has any questions, any comments, any feedback, please go ahead and put it in the chat section. Sri Ram sir is saying, all we can do to those who don't accept apologies is to pray Krishna and keep them in your prayers. It is more to find solace in our conscience. All right. And since these differences do come from expectations from each other, and that is directly what we are taught in Krishna consciousness, that do not work for result, just do your duty, has to be practiced. Okay. Okay. Chanting certainly helps. My thoughts trust it is in right direction. Yeah, those are some good points. Yeah, but like we said, healing is process. We should respect that the other person is also going through their own journey, and we should respect their choice of either forgiving or not forgiving us. But definitely, it would not hurt after giving them some time, maybe another round of apology. By then, maybe the time would have healed their wounds a little, and they may also see that we are genuine in going through this remorse. So, one or two other rounds of apologizing we can. But even after that, if it's not coming forth, then yeah, we can just let it go and let Krishna deal with it. Okay, devotees. So, anybody, any questions, comments, feedback? And meanwhile, if anybody is new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to Aradhana Online YouTube channel. So that way you'll be given notifications immediately when the live sessions or the recorded sessions are uploaded. There's a bell icon there. You can hit the notification and subscribe button. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you feel like you got some value in the last 96 minutes, talking about forgiveness, all the three different parts that we talked about. If you feel like you liked it, there were some points that you could take home with you and make your own life better, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and show us some love. Okay. Sandesh is saying, thank you very much for soulful session. Oh, thank you, Sandesh. Hare Krishna. Okay, so the like button, thumbs up, subscribe button for subscription, bell icon for notification, and if anybody wants to get in touch, I will leave my email ID here, especially the newcomers. If you want to just say Hare Krishna and introduce yourself, where you're from and all that, I would definitely want to get to know about you and see how better to serve you. So here is my email ID that I'm leaving in the chat section. So please feel free to drop me an email and I will reply back to you. Leelavati ji is saying, thank you Mataji for wonderful session. You're welcome Mataji. Vijayarani ji is saying, thank you so much for such a good session. We got to learn more. Thank you. You're welcome. Hare Krishna. All right. Anybody else? Any other comments? Feedback? Also, every Sunday we have a Shloka session for the kids between the age groups of 8 years to 16 years. So these are wonderful 1-hour sessions that happen on Sunday for a very nominal monthly subscription fee. So if anybody has children or you know somebody between the ages of 8 to 16, please drop me an email. I've left the email address there. And in the evening, Sundays, we have what is called as Women of Wisdom. Wow, many of you are already part of it. So again, for a very nominal monthly subscription fee, every week we learn some important topics. We improve ourselves and keep growing as women of wisdom. So if you would like to become part of that group, please drop me an email for that as well. I'll get in touch with you. Chetan Prabhu is saying, much required session, Mataji. Hari Bol. Oh, thank you, Prabhu. I'm glad that you, feel the necessity of this session. Such an important topic, definitely. Very beneficial. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time and joining us on a nice Saturday evening to learn about this wonderful topic, forgiveness. And like this, every Saturday, let's come together between 5:30 to 7 p.m. Indian time. Please do share the poster and video invites with your friends and family, your contacts, so they can also come and together we can grow through Gita. So thank you very much. We'll see you next Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Indian time. Take care, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrind ki Gaur Prem Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everyone.